just remove it? Fuck it. That's gonna be it, I guess. Okay, I think that's fine. Okay. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know what the delay is here. Anyway. I think I'm like officially live and we're good to go. Right? Oh, wrong app. Cool. Yeah, I think we're good. My mic seems to be working fine. I don't know what my input is currently set to. Should actually probably check that. Sound input. MacBook Pro microphone. Okay. Nah, you know what? That's fine. I'm good with this. What's the sound like? Nah, you know what? That's fine. I'm good with this. What's the sound like? Yeah, and we're on standard mic mode and it sounds like that. I'm good with that. Yeah, and we're on standard mic mode and it sounds like that. I'm good with that. Awesome. Okay. I'm over here playing Animal Crossing, by the way. I don't know. I've gotten really into it recently, mainly because I realized how much stuff that I actually like have unlocked and can do. That has been huge. That has been really huge in bringing this game back to me. Because one of the biggest, most annoying pieces of this game consistently was just not. Wait, I've never caught a walking leaf before. Okay, I've seen like 500 of them. I thought I'd already caught one. Anyway, talk to your neighbors. Okay, and then chop some wood. Works for me. Anyway, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Ish PPG. Am I still Ish PPG on the? I think I am. Which is good. Ish PPG is. We'll keep that. We'll keep that around. You know what I mean? God, I really hope you can't hear that lawnmower. It's really annoying. Regardless. What's going on, everybody? What's going on, YouTube? You know, I'm just kind of hanging out today. There's a few things that I wanted to talk about, some of which are more, I would say, important than others for sure. I mean, there's going to be some talk today. I'm gonna say it up front about topics that are not made for children. So if you are, I mean, this is already, I think, a live stream that is set to not made for kids. But, you know, covering my bases here, if you're a kid, go away. This is not the type of conversation that you should be a part of. But we're gonna start first with the less problematic and less dubious topic of conversation, and that is the new iPhones that got announced. Because I had quite a few thoughts about them, especially after checking them out more, like checking out what they're all about. I have had a few thoughts about them, and you know, it is pretty. There are a few interesting points of discussion that I was thinking about while I was in the car, getting breakfast. Which, side note, I really love, I really do like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I really do like food restaurant apps, particularly fast food restaurants all have apps. McDonald's app go crazy, bro. I just got breakfast for free. Um, Regardless, yeah, I don't know, man. iPhone 17, that's what we were talking about. So, I mean, we can go over the basics before we go over anything else if we want to. Um, 4 new iPhones, as there always are for the past few years. I think since the iPhone 12, they've been doing 4 iPhones. With the iPhone 12, it was the 12, 12 mini, 12 Pro, and 12 Pro Max. Then with the 13, they did the same thing, just 13, 13 mini, 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max. Then with the 14, I think they started doing the Plus. I think the 13 was the last time they did the mini, and nobody bought them. Furthermore, proving that everyone sucks. Because apparently they like the mini, but they won't buy it. Regardless, you know, 15, they did the same thing. 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max. That's actually my phone currently is a 15 Pro Max. But then last year was also the same thing. 16, 16 Plus, 16 Pro, 16 Pro Max. This year, however, they did something a little bit different. There's still the 17, there's still the 17 Pro, there's still the 17 Pro Max, and there is a new one that's taken the place of the Plus, which is the 17, or it's not even the 17, it's just the iPhone Air. That's a very interesting predicament. It's not part of the 17 lineup, and I really, really hope that they're not going to make an Air 2, because then, like, next year, if they do that, we'll have an 18, an 18 Pro, an 18 Pro Max, and an iPhone Air 2. Unless this is the primer for them dropping the number altogether, which I think is a real possibility. I mean, I've been saying this for a little while. We are getting to the point in the numbers where it's really getting hard to it's really getting hard to say, like, what the point of the number is anymore. Like, up until, like, when the 10 came out, when the iPhone X came out, right? Keeping the numbers up until that point, totally fine. Keeping the numbers after the 10, I don't want to say it was questionable, but it was certainly like, what's the point? Because the thing is, they've done, with the Macs, they've done this for years. It's not known as the MacBook 2. It's just known as the MacBook Pro, and then in parentheses, the year of release. So I think either one of two things is happening with that name. Number one, they're introducing new branding if they get into the folding phone game. Which, if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't know if it's going to happen. Like, I really don't. I wish I was a little more, like, sure of if it were going to happen. But the thing is, the folding phone game has been around for so long, and the only people competing in that market are Google and Samsung. Putting an iPhone in that market would certainly, be cool, but as somebody who owned a folding phone before switching to iPhone, I think the only company that could do the folding phone justice is Apple, and I say this specifically because the iPhone's software experience is, and I'm gonna get hate for this potentially from Android people. People don't fucking watch this shit. I don't care. I like the iPhone's software experience is just simply more cohesive. Everything, like, people hate the phrase, but when it comes to the software experience on iPhone, everything really does just work. Whereas on Android, particularly on the folding phones, one of my least favorite parts of the folding phones on Android was whenever I started an app on the outer screen and then opened it up, it would stay in a small windowed section, and to get it to fully like take up the whole screen, I would have to close the app and restart it. So if I was watching like there were certain apps that were optimized for it. So like Google had done the work to optimize YouTube for that experience, right? So YouTube was one of the apps that actually worked pretty okay. Okay, there we go. YouTube was one of the apps that worked pretty okay. Sorry, I was just redoing a path. Where even when you opened the phone, it would open up to the full screen. But no matter what app it was, certain apps like YouTube could go from like closed front screen to open, still working, full screen, inner screen. Some apps, many apps, were if it was closed on the front screen and you opened it, it would still stay windowed in the open screen, and then you would have to restart the app to use it in full screen on the inner screen. And there were plenty of apps that were like that. And anytime that you had an app open on the inner screen and you closed the phone and then you reopened it on the outer screen, the front screen, it would just close the app. Whatever app was open on the inner screen, it would just close it. It would send you back to the home screen. It would turn off the phone. You would have to hit the power button again, re-authenticate, or like type in your PIN or whatever, or fingerprint on the side. You would have to re-authenticate. You would have to reopen the app or go into the app switcher to reopen the app. Because every single app, if you went from open to close, it would close. It would close the app. And that sucked. That was annoying as shit. That was a terrible user experience, because there are plenty of times, like, don't get me wrong, there are absolutely times where I would close the phone because I don't want to use it anymore. Like, I just don't want to use my phone anymore. I'm closing it because I'm done using my phone. But there were also plenty of times where I would pop the screen open so that I could do, a couple different things at once with multitasking that was more, frankly, usable on the big screen. And then once I was done with the multitasking, I just wanted to go back to like watching a YouTube video, and I don't need the whole screen for that, and I don't want the whole screen for that. And most importantly, that drains battery. Like it was a battery hit. So I wanted to go back to the inner screen, but no, if I wanted to go back to the small the outer screen, not the inner screen. If I wanted to go back to the small outer screen, I would just have to deal with the fact that my app had to restart. And that was annoying. So if Apple could figure out how to do that, then we'd be golden. And to be honest, Apple is the only company I trust to figure out how to do that, and most importantly, make it so that all developers do that, because Apple has enough market penetration that even though Samsung, I think, sells more Samsung phones than Apple does iPhones, somehow Samsung just doesn't have the clout with developers that Apple does to get people to build apps for their products. It just isn't a thing. A Raja Brooks birdwing. Interesting. Caught a butterfly. New butterfly. Anyway, I got sidetracked. A lot of people seem to think, that's what I was trying to say, was that the Air is supposed to be a precursor or like a test for their folding phone to see, like, is this form factor going to work? I think it's possible. I think that might be what it is. I think more than likely, though, it's actually just they wanted to do something different. Because one of the things that they always get criticized for is how they're not really doing anything different. I don't know. Let me try something real quick. I just want to test something. This it should start again, right? It should start again, right? Hello? What is that noise? What is that noise? Okay, we're back. Okay, so that does work. Anyway. So yeah, I don't think the 17 Air. I don't think it's supposed to be a. I don't think it's supposed to be a folding phone test. I think it's partially them trying something different and new because people keep bitching that they're not innovating, and I think the other thing is also, oh, interesting. I also think that like, it's them prepping the like I think it's them prepping the like more than anything. I think it's them prepping the discontinuation of the numbers, which I'm okay with. Get rid of the numbers. I don't really care. But you know, cool new things. The Air definitely cool. It's a lot thinner, lot thinner. From all the footage that's come out since the announcement, because people have like been able to get their hand, like YouTubers have been able to get their hands on it and put it in front of a camera and everything in still in like the very polished, very specific environment that is Apple Park and their like demo room or whatever it's called. But it's still something different. Like it's still not a CG render of the phone in all of the commercials and everything. It's genuine, real footage of a real phone under real lighting in real space. Time will tell, I think, how good it is of a product. I'm going to be honest, I genuinely don't trust that that thing's going to have battery life worth a damn. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I think the more interesting ones are honestly the Pro and regular models this year. The regular model, because it is surprisingly upgraded. It gets the same main camera, the same 48 megapixel main camera. It seems, at least, it gets the same 40 megapixel main camera as the Pro phones have, which means for that particular model, it means it gets a bigger sensor. And I don't know how many people understand how huge that is for phone cameras. I think for a long time people have been tricked into thinking that megapixel count matters. Samsung has done this for a little while. I want to say since the S20 or S21 Ultra, they've had a system by which they like, I don't want to say they dupe people because it's entirely possible that it's just marketing, right? But Samsung, since I want to say either the S20 or S21 Ultra, has been putting like 100 plus megapixels camera sensors in their phones. Excuse me. They've been putting 100 plus megapixel camera sensors in their phones, and the thing is about megapixels, it doesn't matter that much as the sensor size matters. So particularly on phones where sensor sizes are and like have to be ridiculously small, right? If I look at like looking at my phone camera, each sensor has to fit behind one of these lenses. And these lenses are only like not even a full inch big, probably, like across diameter wise. So each sensor has to fit behind that small of a lens, which means the sensor in and of itself can't be huge. Otherwise, the lenses have to be huge. And they can't make the lenses too huge because the whole thing still has to be small enough to fit into your pocket. So every phone camera sensor has to be small, but the bigger that you can make the sensor, the better image you're going to get, because the bigger the sensor, the higher the surface area to capture more light. That not only leads to better low light photography, but that also leads to more, how should we say, artistic or artful, because people for some reason have not figured out, but for some reason people have this mentality that bokeh, like more bokeh equals more artsy. But it's going to be more of a bokeh filled, like, no, I'm going to keep this one. Thanks, Pascal. I would give it to you, but I do need to turn this into, because the first one I got I gave to you, so I have to give this one to Blathers. Anyway, with bokeh, it for some reason it's been equated to artistic picture quality, but with a bigger sensor, you will get more bokeh. Megapixel count does help in that regard, but having a bigger sensor on which those megapixels rest will help much greater. It will help much more. Also, a bigger sensor means more surface area for light capture, which means better low light photography. It also means more detail captured in the first place. It will, like, you will capture more, you will just capture more detail in with a bigger sensor. You will just capture more detail. There's just more stuff, particularly if you keep your megapixel count high. You will capture more detail and more clarity and more sharpness. So from what it looks like, I think the base model 17 has gotten the same bigger 48 megapixel sensor, because they both had 48 megapixel sensors last year, the Pro and the base model. But I think the base model got the same sensor that the Pro model does, which is bigger. So it will be a little bit better. The Air has only one camera. This is why the Air is so confusing, right? Because, like, on the outside, it seems like, from the jump, it kind of seems like one of the most the most luxurious product that Apple is selling, because it's titanium, it's polished, it's the full glass back on front and back, it's the ceramic shield, it's thin, it's like, it looks good, it looks very nice. Oh, darn. Oh wait, this is the beach. Anyway, it looks very nice, but, like, the more you think about it, the more you look at it, the more scrutiny you put onto it. I don't want to say it's the worst one of the lineup, but it has, other than being thin and light, it doesn't have that much going for it. The base model got two cameras. It has the ultra wide. It has an ultra wide, and it has the same main camera as the Pro models do. I'm not sure if the ultra wide is the same on both models as well. I don't think it is. But because the regular model got a better, sea grapes. Because the regular model got a better sensor, it can also probably do better crop photos. So it can probably do an even better 2x zoom off of only the one sensor. And it still has the ultra wide, and I think the ultra wide got some kind of a boost, but I'm not sure what kind of a boost. But it certainly looks pretty good, which, that's always nice. Is this thing running away from me? What the hell is happening? Oh, you bastard. It totally is running away from me. What was that about? Okay. Maybe this is like... Okay. I don't know. Anyway. I think it got, from what I understand, I think it got a better ultra-wide sensor as well, so those pictures should even be, so like 0.5 should be better. Cool. Oh, I can't carry anything else. Let it go. Whatever. I should get back to shore then. So yeah, iPhone 17 regular. Oh, ProMotion. That was the other big thing. Was the base model got ProMotion, which means the base model iPhone now has 120 hertz. I think this happened now specifically at, frankly, a really good time because Apple is currently, from what I understand, feeling the burn quite a bit because people are not happy with the AI output. People in general are not able to afford smartphones like they used to be able to. And they want as much bang for their buck as possible, and that might force some people to switch to Android. Oh, my pockets are full. Okay, so let me go sell stuff first. Oh, and give stuff to Blathers. Anyway, yeah, man, I don't know. I think the 17 regular actually does look like a really good deal for 99% of people because it's the same price as last year. So no inflationary, you know what I mean? None of that inflationary garbage, which is always good. And it got even better. Like, it's just become a better machine. Just across the board. It is just better. 17 looks really good, particularly if you, like, I'm not going to tell you to drop your 16 and go buy a 17, but if you're on like a 14, even a 15 is still fine, but if you're on a 14, you know what I mean, decent time to consider upgrading, and if you're on a 13 or anything before that, definitely a decent time to consider upgrading. 17 looks really nice. Seventeen looked really nice. 17 Pro. Surprising upgrades. They really didn't talk about the Pro Max at all. And I think that's because there's feature parity between the Pro and Pro Max, which happens sometimes, but not always. And I don't quite know how to feel about the Pros because on the one hand, there are a few things that I'm not a huge fan of. The biggest things I would say right off the bat are we've gone back to aluminum on the Pros, which, as somebody coming from the 15, where one of the huge selling points of the 15 was titanium, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm really not quite sure about how I feel about that. It's complicated. I don't know. I'm really not sure how I feel about that. When it comes to the Pro features and whatnot, though, I think that's really good. For one, all three cameras on the Pro have 48 megapixel sensors. The main one is still, like, don't get it twisted, the main camera, the 1X camera, is still significantly better than the other two cameras. So that has not changed. And I really hope people don't think that the ultra wide and the telephoto cameras are as good as the main one, because they're not. They're just not. Mainly, the sensor for the main camera is still a little bit bigger, and still, I think the biggest thing, it said it has a, when I was watching it, I think it said it had like a 1 1/4 micrometer difference or something like that. Here, let's head to apple.com, honestly. Because you know what, actually, first, before I do that, let me sell off some of my stuff in Animal Crossing, and then we will go to apple.com together. I want to sell. You can have this octopus, this sea star, this octopus, these 2 sea stars, this Germania, this main jellyfish, this mussel, and the sea urchin. How much money are you gonna give me for all that? 9,200? I'll take that. I'll take 9,200. I also have 3 10,000 bell trees cooking right now. One of which is probably about to hit in 2 days, and the one is about to hit in 1 day. That one's about to hit in 2 days, and this one's about to hit in 3. So we got plenty of bells coming in, which is good because I think I have 300,000 in the bank. Also, I'll be able to sell that serene painting that I accidentally bought again because I didn't know that that was the painting that I already bought before. Maybe it was the Lady in the Ermine by Da Vinci. Crazy work. Regardless. Okay, so we've saved. Let me bring this over here. Here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and full screen it. All right, let's take a look at everything that they revealed here, specifically with the iPhones. Is this not? Or is this just behind? Oh, this is just behind. Okay, there we go. Okay, so new iPhones 17 Pro. I do want to see if they show it on the website. Because there was a section on the cameras. Here we go. Here it is. So it says micrometer 2.44 micrometers, quad pixel, and 1.22 1.22 micrometers individual. If I'm remembering correctly, that's pixel pitch. Pixel pitch is the distance between the centers of adjacent pixels. So I think the bigger that number is, the better, because what that means is each megapixel is more further apart, which means that there is a bigger the distance from the center of one pixel to the center of an adjacent pixel on a camera sensor. A smaller pixel pitch means more pixels fit into a given sensor size, which increases resolution and allows for capturing finer details. However, smaller pixel pitch also means each pixel has a smaller surface area to collect light. So the main camera is still better than the ultra-wide and the telephoto because each pixel has 1.22 micrometers between each pixel, which means each individual pixel is bigger, which means that there is more surface area to capture light, which means you will get better low light shots out of your main camera, and you will get slightly worse shots still out of your telephoto and your ultra-wide cameras. That will happen. It is still going to be a thing. Do not get it twisted. However, at the same time, they're phone cameras. And a lot of the phone camera stuff comes down to just... A lot of the phone camera stuff really does come down to, computational photography. Unless you're using, like I do. I use halide. Not all the time, but when I want to take, real pictures, if I'm going somewhere nice, if I'm going somewhere pretty, and I want to take, specifically good pictures, I just use halide. Yeah, this is certainly very cool because it does allow you to go from, this is the macro lens. This is the macro feature of the wide angle lens, but the wide angle lens is a 13 millimeter equivalent. The main is a 24 millimeter equivalent still. Then this allows you to do the 1.2 and the 1.5 by cropping and a 2x by cropping. One thing that they changed is that the telephoto is now a 4x instead of a 5x, which seemingly is a downgrade, but because it is a much bigger sensor, you can still crop in on the bigger sensor the way that you could crop in on the main sensor to get a 2x telephoto on the 24 millimeter 1x sensor. Oh, because of this. I forgot. Anyway, because you can crop in on the 1x sensor, the 24 millimeter sensor, and get a 48 millimeter 2x picture, which for the record, I do that a lot. Okay, 50 millimeters. Book it right now. 50 millimeters. I need everyone to listen to me when I say this. 50 millimeters is the ideal. It is the optimal shot size for portraiture. If you have people in your pictures, shoot it at 2x. If you have one of the newer iPhones. Anything, because like, okay, I'll show you. I'll show you right now. I will literally show you right now. All right. I mean, you see it. You see it better than I do. Let me move my hand down. If I take a picture of myself at 1x, this is 0.5. This is 1x. If I take a picture of myself at 1x, okay, and then I take a picture of myself from the same camera, maybe a little further back because, you know, it's zooming in, so at 2x. Sorry, I'm just airdropping these pictures to myself. Don't worry, I'm going to pull them onto the screen so you can see them. I just have to airdrop both of them. There we go. Okay. And then let me crop in on this picture so that the framing is almost the exact same as this picture. Okay. So, for context, hold up. Not that one, this one. Okay. So for context, right? This picture that because this is in full screen. Okay. This picture that I'm pulling over right now, right? This one over here. This picture is the 50. This is at 50. This is at 50 millimeters. This is the 50 millimeter picture. This is a picture that I took right in front of you. This is what it looks like in portrait mode, or like portrait orientation. This is not in portrait mode, by the way. This is in regular mode. This wasn't in portrait. You still get a blurry background. Because it's a bigger sensor. It has more light, so it can do that, right? It still gives you that nice nice separation because it's a big sensor, so it can do that. Here is the same picture, cropped to be approximately the same size from the 24 millimeter sensor. Do you see the difference? This makes my nose stick out more and slims down the sides of my face. This makes my nose flatten up, but also flattens my whole face. This is better for portraiture. This 50 millimeters is better for portraiture because it doesn't give you the warping of the more shallow focal distance. If you are at 24 versus 48, you will see this difference. 24 will make all of your subjects look kind of like, not fisheye, but it'll do that weird distortion. Whereas when you hit about 50 millimeters, you will look normal. You will look flat, maybe, but you will look normal. This is what our eyes see. 50 millimeters is pretty close to what the human eye sees. So when you look at people, they look more like the one on the left than the one on the right. And I'm very, very annoyed by people who take pictures using the 1x without cropping into 2x. Because 2x, when you're taking pictures of faces, is the correct one. Sorry, rant over. I'm closing both of these. Anyway, using that same system, you can have a 4x telephoto lens and then crop in on the sensor to get 8x telephoto. And it still looks pretty good. It definitely does look a little softer because it's cropped in, and also because the sensor's just not as good. Also, I think this picture is probably at least a little bit compressed so that Apple can easily put it on their website. But you have this option now. That's pretty great. I do like that. The other thing that I really, really like is the new center stage front camera, which is coming to all three. This is awesome. This is really awesome. Because when you hold your phone like this, the camera lens is centered in front of you, right? It's because of how the front camera is designed on iPhones. The center lens, the front camera lens is centered in front of you when you're looking at it in portrait. But if you hold it in landscape, now it is off to one side, right? Now it's off to the side of you. Now it's over here. So you have to consciously, instead of looking at the center of the screen, you have to look over there. Whereas in this one, yeah, you still have to look up instead of looking at the screen. You have to look up. But the lens, if you hold it directly in front of you as if you're taking a selfie, or even above, because a lot of people like taking selfies from above, even if you hold it like this and you're looking up at the camera, when it's in portrait mode or portrait orientation, the camera is more centered. Whereas if you hold it like this, the camera is slightly to the right of you. The center stage camera has been designed so that even if you're holding it like this, because it's a bigger sensor, so it says 18 megapixels. For some reason, somewhere I heard somebody say it was 24. It's not. Unless it's a 24 megapixel sensor that only gives you an 18 megapixel picture, because it's a square sensor, which is very uncommon. Even the biggest sensors are usually 3x2, which are closer to square, but not quite square. But even then, with those are for recording in OpenGate, and then you can crop into a 16:9. But with this, because it's a square sensor, it can also use object recognition to, even if you're holding your phone like this, if you want to take a group selfie, right? Even if you want to take a group selfie, you can, because by holding, even if you're holding your phone like this, it'll automatically crop in on what part of the sensor it's using to either use a bigger portion of the sensor for a wider portrait selfie, even currently on iPhones, on the selfie mode, where are we? On the selfie mode, there's this button in the center that allows you to pull back. It'll do that as well automatically, which it already does. Or if instead of having to turn it horizontal, you can just keep it vertical, but in camera, in the viewfinder, it'll turn it horizontal, and then it'll get more people in the picture. That's great. That's awesome. I genuinely love that a lot because taking group selfies is a surprisingly frequent occurrence in not only my, but like in general people's lives. And making it as easy as possible to get a good group selfie, totally on board with that. Genuinely, fully on board with that. Selfies are maybe the most like normie pictures. Doesn't matter to me. I'm okay with it. Just make them better, right? This is great. I love this. Dual capture video. This is stupid. I hate this. And I say this as somebody who's known that this has been a feature on Android for a very, very long time. And the reason why I know it's been a feature on Android for a very, very long time is because I've used it on Android for a very, very long time. And it has always sucked. Let me see if I can pull up. Because I think I have one from my Galaxy S7. I'm pretty sure it was the Galaxy S7. Was it in... No, I think it was in... Oh, man. I'm trying to remember. So this is from this year. That's not going to be from then. Is it from the 2018 trip? Was it then? Yes, it was. Yeah. Here is a, this will be an archival photo, but once again, in 2018, I was still making YouTube videos, so y'all have probably seen me like this. This is a dual camera picture from, the Galaxy, I want to say this is the Galaxy S7. G930A. Samsung SMG930A. Google that real quick. AT&T branded variant of the Galaxy S7. Okay. So it was from the Galaxy S7. This is coming from the Galaxy S7. You can do it in video now, which, like, freaking whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. This has never been a cool feature. If I really wanted to show people, like, oh, this is the place I am, and here is me in this place, I would either A, take a selfie, or B, FaceTime them. Like, I took the picture. You know I was there. Everybody that I'm sending this, everybody that I would send this to would know that I went to a place. So, like, what's the point? Ultra stabilized video? I mean, cool. I don't really know what the point of that is. Center stage for video calls. I like center stage. A lot of people think it's really dumb and gimmicky. I like center stage. But this was pretty huge. Pro video, specifically ProRes RAW on the iPhone. That's awesome. There are only a few cameras that I know of that shoot ProRes RAW, and they are all through external means. Off the top of my head, I know the Sony cameras, the FX series of cameras, the lower end ones, like the FX6, FX3, maybe even the FX30. I'm not quite sure. Probably the FX2. I know very little about the FX2. Shoot ProRes RAW, but if you hook them up to an external recorder like a Atomos Shinobi or Atomos Ninja. So having ProRes RAW, great. Huge fan of that. Oh, reactions. Huge fan of that. And I don't know what camera app this is. I think that's Final Cut Camera. Final Cut Camera is whatever, as somebody who's tried it before. But this picture over here, actually you can't see because my head's covering it. This picture over here in the center, that guy's using Blackmagic Cam. Blackmagic Cam's a great app, and I'm very, very glad that the support for it has come to that. That's awesome. Also, because you're shooting in RAW, it really is giving you, like, it was not kidding. It is actually genuinely raw. Like, you are getting all of these specific raw, like, custom, like, controls. I do wonder, and I know someone, when ProRes Log came out, did a test to figure out what the quote-unquote base ISO is for the iPhone, and it was like 1200. I do wonder what the base ISO is going to be with this kind of RAW setup here. But generally, the way that RAW works, at least the way that I know how RAW works, because I use a Red, is if you have a higher ISO value, it's more dynamic range mapping than it is just like pure noise and like signal to noise adjustment. Where the higher ISO you go, at least from what I understand of Red RAW, the higher your ISO value is, the more stops of the, like, if the camera has, say, 10 stops of dynamic range. I think the Komodo has more than that, but if the camera has, like, 10 stops of dynamic range, I'm also realizing that my camera's still on. Whoops! If the camera has more than, if, say, the camera has 10 stops of dynamic range, at 800, it's more or less evenly split. There's 5 above and 5 below, middle gray. But then the higher you push your ISO, the more stops start moving into the highlights, and the lower you push your ISO, the more stops move into the shadows. That's how I understand Red RAW works. I'm not sure if that's just a RAW deal as a whole. I haven't spent enough time learning about that. If I'm being perfectly honest, I wish I had spent more time thinking about it, but I haven't. But having RAW is pretty cool, and Apple Log got an upgrade to Apple Log 2. Hopefully that will be a little bit better. I have nothing against Apple Log. I also really appreciate, however, the ability to shoot in RAW. Genlock support, which is pretty big if you're doing multicam stuff. That's pretty big. And honestly, the fact that they even talked about it in the presentation was kind of crazy to me, because realistically, I think they should have talked about Open Gate before they talked about Genlock in the like regular presentation, mainly because, like, okay, this is gonna sound so mean when I say normies, but like, people who treat video production more as a hobby or more as a any way I say this, it's going to sound elitist, and it's not me trying to be elitist. It's me trying to be like, it's me knowing what I do know already and understanding the importance of all of these terms and all what they all mean. Open gate recording is awesome. Having open gate recording is great. If your camera can do open gate, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. If you are in the market for a new camera, Open Gate is one of the potential things to consider, because what Open Gate means is that it's using the entire sensor all at once when you shoot a video. So generally, sensors are, like I said, in a 3:2 aspect ratio, right? There's almost a square block of that green sensor. That's picking up light. When you put a lens on it, it's picking up light through the lens, and it's creating an image over that 3:2 sensor. Here's the thing. Having open gate acquisition is really good for flexibility, because when you have an open gate acquisition, what it allows you to do is crop in for a 16:9 image and still have space on the top and bottom where you can adjust your frame, and I think maybe even on the sides. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember exactly, but even like, it basically gives you space around whatever 16:9 part of the image that you're cropping into. It allows you to move that around. So if you shoot a scene and then realize in post, oh shoot, somebody left their Starbucks cup on the table, on that, like, just on the edge of this frame, well, we can just reframe it in post slightly so that we crop that bit out. And we're still in 16:9, and we're still meeting acquisition standards or deliverable standards, it gives you that extra flexibility. And that is a really nice thing to have, especially when you're working on projects that are very run and gun, that are very tight timeline and very strict schedule type of jobs. It's really nice. You don't need it. And I say that you don't need it because for many, many years, movies in particular have been shot on Super 35 film and digital, and there are movies that are shot for IMAX, like The Creator, which was shot on FX3. It was not shot exclusively on FX3, but it was shot on FX3. And the FX3 doesn't have OpenGate. From what I understand, the Alexa 35 doesn't have OpenGate. From what I know, it probably does, and I'm misremembering, but it doesn't have OpenGate. Or the Reds, I don't know if any of the Reds have OpenGate, but they have VistaVision sensors, so their sensors themselves are big enough to where people just get everything that they want. OpenGate is really nice for when you're on a strapped timeline and you just kind of have to start rolling, and then you can fix that later. It gives you extra flexibility. But if you have the time to really set your frame and design your space and design your shot with intentionality, you won't need OpenGate, even if it's a nice to have. But the thing is, so many people who are getting into the space or are learning about the space or are more gearheads than creatives, and I see it more from gearheads than creatives, really like preach OpenGate as the next coming of Christ. It's great, don't get me wrong. Having OpenGate is really good, but it's not necessary. And that's why I'm surprised that Apple didn't talk about OpenGate and actually talked about Genlock, which is that is so much more useful as a tool. It is still pretty niche. It's still, you don't need Genlock either, but it's so much more useful as a tool than OpenGate is, particularly if you're going to do what they're doing in this shot, which is multicam iPhone rigs. I'm trying to frame it up so you guys can see it better. Yeah, what they're doing in the shot, which is multicam iPhone setup, where they have iPhone 1 over here, 2 over there, and 3 over here. This is like literally the perfect setup for Genlock, because with Genlock you can sync all 3 of these together easily, and it's so friggin' perfect for putting that into post. Yeah, it's a broadcast, locks their time into a common reference signal. Yeah. This ensures that all devices start and end frames simultaneously, which it's really, really handy to have Genlock for synchronization. Another option is obviously timecode, which that would have been really sick if they were able to put timecode in as well. Genlock is more or less a better version of timecode, particularly if you're doing a multi-camera broadcast, particularly if you're doing multi-camera VFX. Genlock is so handy. And specifically, if you've seen 28 Years Later, the one that came out this year that was shot on iPhone, there are multiple shots from that movie that use the bullet time effect, where the way that they shot it was literally they built a little rig of a bunch of iPhones just lined up in a little curve, and then for the shot they just held it up, some guy yelled action, and they just started rolling on all the iPhones, and they just kind of rigged it up and left it there for a few seconds, and that's how they got the shot. And then in post they brought all that iPhone footage, layered it on top of each other, and then cut between all the feeds really smoothly, and it smoothly cut in between them. And that's how you get the bullet time effect. Even in The Matrix, the original one, that was what they did. They had their soundstage, they had their top of the building on the soundstage, and they had their CGI green screen background, and then they had a giant rig that went all around this building that was just camera from all around, and then in post they stacked all of that up and then cut in between all the feeds and ramped between all the feeds together. That is how bullet time works, as you use multiple cameras. So if anyone else wants to ever do that, Genlock makes it real easy. That's awesome. Also for broadcast, like if you're doing like, Genlock will be really useful for people who do multicam podcasts. It just makes synchronization of everything so much quicker, so much easier. It's perfect. Genlock is awesome. New vapor chamber in the iPhone 17 Pros. Time will tell how important that is. Battery life is good, great, don't really care. I have the 15 Pro Max. How does this work? Up to 20% faster, 50% faster GPU, 4 more hours of video playback, 10 more hours of video playback on the Pro Max. I see. Cool. Yeah, I have iOS 26 right now I have the beta on my phone right now. iOS 26 really is that good. It is really nice. I don't know. The biggest thing for me that I'm like kind of mildly iffy on when it comes to the 17s is the new aluminum design. They've gone back to aluminum. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I also think this weird two-tone situation here is just weird. It looks weird. But I'm gonna put a case on it anyway, so who cares? I personally, if I'm being honest, I like this blue more than I like this orange. This orange looks kind of gaudy, and from all of the footage that I've seen of this orange, in videos and stuff, the color of the orange glass piece is more of a creamsicle orange, and this is more of a traffic cone orange. And so it's got that like two-tone orange look to it, but it's very, very weird looking. I kind of wish I want to see these in person a little bit, but I feel like this will just look better. I like this blue quite a bit, actually. I think the blue looks quite nice. Aluminum unibody. Cool. I don't know about aluminum, man. Like I said, I'm going to put a case on it, so I'm not going to touch the aluminum anyway. I do understand that it's better for heat. Yeah, I mean, vapor chamber, neat, I guess. My biggest question is, like, what is someone doing on their phone that requires this kind of heat, like, which requires more high sustained performance other than long video recordings, which, yeah, that's important. Ceramic shield, whatever, don't care. Camera control, I actually do want to, like, I don't like the placement of the button. I will be upfront with that. I don't like the placement of the button. The button is placed in a very weird position. But I do want to try the new photographic styles that they added to the iPhone 16. That does entice me. Looking at the 17, new colors. I like the new colors. I do. ProMotion on the front screen. That's pretty huge. That's probably the biggest. That's probably the biggest thing. New center stage camera. Same camera as on the Pro. Yeah. I do think all of the colors on this model are actually quite nice. I mean, obviously you have your regular white and black, but this lavender looks really pretty. I like this green and I like this blue. They're all very nice. Biggest difference maker is absolutely that center stage camera. That thing looks great, and I cannot wait to see that in action. I would really love to use that. Battery. I don't know. These, like, honestly, the ProMotion display and the center stage camera are probably the two biggest things for the base iPhone. iPhone Air. This is the big new one. It is very thin, and it is a polished titanium. I think it's a little too expensive because, oh man, where there should be like battery stats here somewhere. There should be battery stats somewhere. Are there not? Oh, here we go. iPhone Air compared to iPhone 17. Okay, slightly bigger screen. Less cameras. Oh, and then, okay, this does actually confirm it that the base model also does get a 48 megapixel ultra wide. That's pretty cool. A19 base versus A19 Pro. Cool. But this one apparently, compared to the Pro, does have one less GPU core, so it's binned that way. The biggest thing, you can see it right here. The biggest thing, this one only got one camera, and I think it's because this got the like bar across, like the big plateau is what they called it, stretches across the whole phone, and that's because a lot of the components are actually being shoved up here. They're trying to maximize battery life by making the battery as big as possible, because the thicker the phone is, the more battery you can shove in this axis, but the thinner it is, the less space you have like this. So you have to do it like that instead. So your battery has to be flatter but wider. Time will tell, and already I'm not quite liking this number right here, where the Air has less of Apple's stupid video playback metric than the regular phone does. Not a huge fan of that, but time will tell what that actually means for real usage, because, I mean, does it say it anywhere? No, it just says all battery claims depend on network configuration or something. Yeah, all battery claims depend on that. That's really annoying. I wish they had like some. I wish they had said what their testing methodology was to get to that number, but it's Apple, of course they didn't. Either way, I mean, these look cool. Yeah. That's all I got. They look cool. I do like the fast charging. That's pretty great. The base model gets faster wired charging. That's awesome. I also, this is a really stupid thing to like, but I do like this crossbody strap. I don't like I don't think I'm going to use it per se, but I do like it. And also, yes, they made a new MagSafe battery, and apparently the iPhone Air MagSafe battery it's big, man. Like that thing was the size of the entire phone. If you look at it on the phone, it's literally the entire back. And it's $100, and it's apparently thin. That's up to 65% additional charge. Okay. At which point can I just buy the thicker phone? Wouldn't I just buy the thicker phone? I don't know. I don't get paid enough. Regardless, that's pretty cool. These tech woven cases, I did want to talk about this. I don't know how to feel about this. I'm going to be honest. I really don't know how to feel about these. Because on the one hand, they definitely do look like they might be more durable than they do certainly look like they might be more durable than the other ones. If you remember the tech woven, or not the tech, what was it called? Air woven or something like that? What was the stupid woven case? Fine woven. The fine woven cases from the iPhone 15 line. Fun fact, I actually bought one. It is probably in my room somewhere if I haven't thrown it out. This, I obviously switched it. This is not that case. This is a Nomad case, I think? Yeah, Nomad. This is a Nomad leather case. This has also seen better days. This is kind of gross, honestly, now. But yeah, I like real leather. I like the feel of real leather. If I'm getting a case for my phone, it is probably not going to be this TechWoven case because I just like leather. Like, if I were to upgrade in the first place, I mean, I'm not even sure if I'm upgrading. It's expensive. It's expensive. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. New iPhones. They're the new iPhones. That's all I got on that. I did spend quite a lot of time on that, though, didn't I? How long have I been live? An hour and 15 minutes almost. Wow. Yeah, I spent quite a bit of time on that. Anyway, I think most of it came from me just ranting about cameras and how people use their cameras wrong. Yeah. That's all I got on the iPhone cameras. So let's talk about Roblox. Because this is pretty huge, and I didn't realize how big of a deal it was / problem it was until relatively recently. So let me pull this up on a different, oh, there you go. Okay, here we go. So let me pull this up on a different, tab. Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. So, fair warning. This is going to get very real. This is going to get very, very real. This is going to be talking about some topics of conversation that are, frankly, not suitable for children, even though it is about children. So, if you are a child, leave. I will tell you this right now. Leave. None of the stuff on this channel has ever really been made for children. But like, this is serious stuff. So leave. Because I am not, frankly, being held responsible. I will say this up front. I refuse to be held responsible by anybody for the coverage of this topic and having to explain to their children what is happening and what I'm talking about. That's not my fucking business. And this is educative material, at least for a little bit. This is going to be educative in the sense of, like, I thought everybody knew about this. I really did. I thought that everybody was aware about what was happening, but apparently not. So that part of it is going to be educative. So I'm going to be talking about Roblox and what is happening with that whole company. So if you don't know what Roblox is, which is like 2 people at this point, it's a online platform. I won't say game, but it is a platform which allows people to make and share and play games that are created inside of their Roblox studio engine. It is marketed. It is certainly marketed towards children. Like, if you go to Roblox's website, it is very much marketed towards kids. They even have a whole tab on their page that is just for parents, because they understand that it is very much a like kid forward or kid first kind of game platform. Like I said, it is like essentially an app store where people use the Roblox game designer to make their own games, and then they host them on Roblox, the platform, and then people play them. It got very, very, very big, and I say got because I'm sure it is still getting very big, but in the context of this, it is mildly old news. But it has become very, very big. It has become bigger than Fortnite, particularly amongst kids. And it has been having one hell of a problem with keeping... Once again, YouTube, this is educative. Don't strike me for this. For those who are unaware, it has consistently, for a while apparently, been having a problem with adult content and pedophiles being on the platform. I get the feeling that the moment that goes through, I'm gonna see my live stream just get immediately knocked down. But it looks like we're still okay, because the internet has made it very, very hard to say that word, allegedly. And that, I will say this right now, that annoys me very much. Whenever you make people afraid to say a word, you are changing the perception around that word and the connotation and the importance, frankly, of that word. So I won't say the words again, because now it's not in an educative context, it's just me discussing, and it's not even like necessarily academic, which would violate terms of service. It would violate YouTube's terms of service if I were to say those words now in a non-educative context, which really annoys me. But there are certain words that YouTube and TikTok and all of these other platforms really don't want you to say on their platforms, but also want you to post content about, which is paradoxical and really bad and really annoying, because it's devaluing the importance of those words, and it's devaluing the, I would say, it's diminishing the actual meaning of those words themselves and what they mean. I just said the meaning of those words and what they mean. It's devaluing the actual, because these words are used to talk about crimes. It's diminishing the crime, frankly, by making it more socially acceptable, by having to convert it into a more socially and social media friendly term. It's kind of diminishing the importance, frankly, I think, of the actual crime behind it. And that's no good. But yeah, Roblox has a problem with predators, because it's a platform that is so very explicitly and clearly designed for children, but does not require you to be a child, because of course it wouldn't. There are adults who are on Roblox who are using that platform to prey on children. And that's crazy to me. That's kind of whack. So there was a guy who, once again, this is still in an educative context. There is a guy named Schlepp who, for a little while, was using the platform using Roblox to essentially Chris Hansen all of these predators on Roblox, where he would run these like cover operations where, they would find people who are using the platform to find people who are using the platform to prey on children, then they would contact those people under the cover of being children and record everything that they were saying and doing and sending in text messages and DMs, get in contact with law enforcement, and take them down, basically. Roblox not only banned his account and then tried to sue him. Bad look. That's a bad look. And so we're gonna watch. This is gonna be like a react. We're gonna do a full reaction channel type of thing. And so let's. He put out a video 2 weeks ago that we're gonna take a look at here, and we're gonna react to it. I am going to skip around quite a bit in this video. I am also going to not react to the whole thing. And the only reason it's like more reaction channel-y, this particular content is going to be more reaction channel-y, is because he talks about stuff at different parts of this video that I want to talk about when it comes to capitalism. Fun, right? And by the way, this does relate back to the iPhones, because capitalism is going to be another thing that we're going to talk about with the new iPhones, because I just remembered why I brought up the iPhones today in the first place. So, let me get to that section. Also, the reason I muted myself is because I'm like finding the timestamp where I want to start this video. But yeah, I want to start right here. So this video is interesting. This is the properties. This one. Here we go. Against the company. Oh, right. Multi-output.
For, and I quote, prioritizing user growth,
so,
revenue, and profits over child safety. The day after,
as you saw in that section, Roblox is being sued by the state of Louisiana, and he was talking about that. He was talking about how, you know, Roblox has consistently been found recently to have these kinds of problems, and then there was a big corporate post live stream podcast thing that happened that we're gonna go over. We're gonna talk about this because this is real interesting, frankly. This is really interesting. So we're gonna go through piece by piece and just kind of discuss it. Oh, sorry.
Like, hey, they're reporting on careful attention. This statement is
sorry.
It started off by saying like, hey, they're reporting on issues on Roblox. They're talking about how we could do better. And, you know, we paid really careful attention. This statement is just
So, I'm gonna skip past this bit here, to get back to the.
It's so easy to become a podcaster with River.
I swear to God, people who do these reactions on YouTube have a YouTube, like all of them have YouTube Premium, because there's ads all the gosh darn time nowadays on YouTube, man. So, yeah, we're gonna. Here we go. So apparently there is.
Was exposed to not safe for work content. The community.
It's been rough on Roblox. Also, my internet is kind of doo-doo right now, so give it a few seconds to load here. Yeah, there's been quite a lot of adult content on Roblox. This is really not surprising to me, to be honest, but Roblox, the company, clearly is not doing a ton to stop it.
has still continued to leave this game up and platform it. CEO David Baszucki mentions this game by name, and here's their philosophy on it.
You know, I can see some of our community naming experiences on Roblox and to say, take it down, take it down, take it down. I'd say examples could be Neeb City, for example. Can you share, like, why should that be up? Should that be down? Like, what's up?
I think one thing that's really challenging on this global immersive interactive platform is that we have content created by developers and creators and content created by the community, by the users that are in that game. And one thing that we really try to do is be fair to our developers and to not moderate them for the behavior of their users.
How is this?
Okay, this is part of the crux of what I wanted to talk about was moderation and content moderation and the responsibility of Roblox as a company to moderate stuff on their platform. Because Roblox is in this weird place that nobody else really is. Because it is, in my opinion, the real version of like Web 3, or at the very least it's Web 2.5. If y'all remember back when the NFTs were like huge, people were all, and the blockchain was the next big thing before the AI boom. Doesn't it feel like so long ago that crypto and blockchain and everything was gonna be the future, and then now it's just friggin' AI, which I have my own problems with. Oh my god, AI. Anyway, the thing that makes this so interesting is because, like I said, I think Roblox and Fortnite is another decent example, are examples of like the next generation of using the internet. So, quick crash course, Web 1 is essentially the very early internet. If we're thinking of the internet in terms of its most basic like ideas, there is the host, the creator, and the consumer, right? In the original days of the internet, way back when, the creator and the host were one and the same. So the creator would host their own content on their own platform, and the consumer would have to find these specific host platforms to consume that content. This would be like if you had a specific blog website. This would be Smosh. Smosh.com is actually a perfect example because before YouTube, Smosh would upload Smosh videos to Smosh.com, which Anthony from Smosh was paying for. He was hosting himself. 1.5 being like the hosting gets pushed to like more centralized places like Wix or Squarespace or GoDaddy or something, where the host is paying for another service to host it instead of like doing it themselves through buying like server space or something on some or the other fucking platform. I don't know. But generally that was like what the idea of Web 1. Web 2 is kind of where we've been for a long time, which is the host has been centralized and the creator and consumer are both feeding the host with content in the case of the creator and consumption in the case of the consumer. This is your social media networks. This is the centralization of content on the internet. This is YouTube. This is Facebook. This is Twitter. This is when people don't make their own websites to host their own blogs. Their blogs go on Blogger. This is when people don't make, quicker little blog posts on their website. This is when they post tweets. This is when video sharing goes from just being a embedded video in your own website to being on YouTube or Vimeo or at Daily Motion. Y'all remember Daily Motion? That was crazy, wasn't it? Anyway, this is when streaming really takes off. This is when we stopped really buying things. This is when the service, like everything as a service thing, became more prevalent and became an option. This is when streaming services as a concept also became a thing, where no one is making stuff and selling stuff on their own. They're selling it through Netflix, or they're selling it through Disney Plus, or they're selling it through YouTube, or they're selling it through Twitter and Instagram or Facebook or whatever. the platform, the host has become centralized. In this case, I think Roblox and Fortnite are kind of the next step of that, where the creator and the host are centralized. So that means that, and it's this is why I say it's like somewhere in between Web 2 and Web 3. It might be a Web 2.5, because of how Roblox and Fortnite have kind of changed the meta of game development. And I do want to take a second to talk about that, because for a very long time, and arguably still on other in other gaming spaces other than, you know, Roblox players and Fortnite players, the platforms and the content were still somewhat separated, and to some extent still are separated, right? If you buy a Call of Duty game on the PlayStation, specifically the PlayStation because Xbox owns Activision, if you buy COD for the PlayStation is the platform. The PS5 is the platform. Sony makes the platform, which is in the same vein, the host, right? And Activision is making the content. Activision's the one making COD. They are the creator. Sony, with the PlayStation, is the host of the content on the platform. And then the consumer is you. You are buying the platform from the host, but the platform, put that aside for now. Mainly the idea is the platform and the host, or the platform and the platform and host are one. Okay, I'm going to stop saying platform. The host is its own thing, and the content and the creator of the content is their own entity. The host is one entity, the creator is another entity. Roblox is different because Roblox makes both the platform, which means they're the host, and while they don't necessarily develop the games themselves, they have people who make it for them. They're made using the Roblox game engine and Roblox Studio and hosted on Roblox. Like, Roblox games are Roblox games, right? Grow a Garden, it was made by some guy. Who was it made by? It's one of those really big Roblox games. And it was not made by Roblox, it was made by BMW Lux, Splitting Point Studios, and Do Big Studios. And there are apparently, like, there are other games on Roblox that are like this. I think what was the other one called? Dress to Impress, right? Yeah, Dress to Impress was the other big one that came out from Roblox, and that was made by a few different people. At least according to the Wikipedia article, it is somebody named Gigi, Owen, Dr. Ben Official, and Choopy. Also, like, I'm going to sound like I'm going to sound like the oldest man in this video because we're talking about Roblox, and everything about Roblox is made for toddlers. So I'm going to, by comparison, sound like a very, very old man. I'm really not that old. But the people who made Dress to Impress are technically not Roblox themselves. It's developers on Roblox. But the difference has become that because Roblox is both the platform that hosts all of the games, because Roblox is the host, and Roblox is the game engine, like, that people are using to make their stuff, people are not recognizing Roblox games as games themselves, because Roblox doesn't own the end platform. To play on Roblox, you need to buy a console or a phone. So you're not playing Roblox on Roblox, you're playing Roblox on your iPhone, or you're playing Roblox on your computer, or you're playing Roblox on your Xbox or your PlayStation or whatever. But for many people, it's in that weird middle space where, because Roblox is still the host, to play Roblox games, you need to be on Roblox, the app, right? Roblox games are not like the Grow a Garden is not a Splitting Point Studios or whatever what was it called? Was it called Splitting Point Studios? Yeah, Splitting Point Studios. Roblox or Grow a Garden is not a Splitting Point Studios game or a Do Big Studios game. It's a Roblox game because you can only play it on Roblox, the platform. So, because the Roblox engine is used to make the game, and it's hosted on Roblox, the platform, Roblox is now both the host and the creator. Even if it is user generated, Roblox now owns 2/3 of the content pipeline, right? The consumers are still you and me, like the end consumer, but the developer of it is essentially an agent of Roblox by making it on the Roblox platform and only making that game accessible on Roblox, the platform. So these games are not Activision games, or like people will play Bethesda games, right? Because a Bethesda game means something. A Roblox game doesn't really mean anything because a Roblox game can be everything. It can be anything at all. Therefore, it doesn't mean any one particular thing. Whereas a Bethesda game generally means open world, generally means open world Western RPG that involves shooting mechanics and some or the other kind of like environmental engagement. Or Ubisoft games, right? It's to a point where Ubisoft games is its own genre of game, which generally means open world, tower-based map design, and it doesn't matter what kind of game it is. If it's Far Cry, if it's Assassin's Creed, if it's the weird, stupid one that they'd made, which based on like Greek mythology, Immortals: Phoenix Rising. It doesn't matter what kind of game it is. The base gameplay may change. Where Far Cry has guns, and Assassin's Creed. Well, actually, some Assassin's Creed games also have guns, but Far Cry has guns, and Assassin's Creed mainly is melee combat. But stronghold takeover gameplay, tower-based exploration, and open-world gameplay. Those three tentpole pillars are part of all of the Ubisoft games. So when you say, oh, it's a Ubisoft game, that's what that means. But Ubisoft isn't the platform. Ubisoft is the creator. Ubisoft is the publisher. Ubisoft is the person that makes the thing that gets played on an Xbox or a PlayStation. The PlayStation or the Xbox is the host. Ubisoft is the creator. You are the consumer. On Roblox, Roblox is the host. Even if Splitting Point Studios and Do Big Studios are technically the creators, the only reason that Grow a Garden, the only platform you can play it on is Roblox. Therefore, they are Roblox games. It's the same way that exclusives work, right? Where Nintendo makes the platform and the game, they are Nintendo games. Even then, Nintendo's gotten away with it by having long-running IP that have had like multiple different games and different types of games within the IP. So you can call it a Zelda game or a Mario game or a Donkey Kong game or a Pokemon game. So you can do that kind of delineation. But because these experiences are all pretty, one, shallow in my opinion, but that's an opinion-based thing. But two, one-off experiences, because they're all online and they've never needed to make a sequel, they are all Roblox games. So Roblox, gets to be both the host and the creator. The problem with that is Roblox gets to treat itself, when the company gets to treat itself like a platform and not like a host. It gets to treat itself like it's essentially just a social media platform. And the problem with that is that Roblox, unlike social media platforms, is very explicitly designed for kids. So, for the record, this is where moderation comes into play. And in my opinion, by the way, I do think social media platforms that are designed for adults, which is almost all of them, please keep your kids off of social media. I understand that's not going to do anything, and I understand that kids use social media anyway, but like, social media platforms that are made for adults should not have to bend over backwards to appeal to children, because they were not made for children. But like Instagram, Twitter, I don't really use Twitter anymore, I guess. Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. These platforms, despite the absolute garbage that exists on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, they are still platforms that are designed for adults. They are designed for users that are adults. And so self-moderation of those platforms works fine, because whatever content is on there outside of like just straight up illegal stuff or stuff that violates maybe terms of service, that kind of content, the kind of content that genuinely has no place online, that content being gone is fine. But when it comes to moderating, other kinds of content, self-moderation is still passable, especially for adult platforms, for platforms that are designed to be used for, that are designed by and to be used by adults. Self-moderation of those platforms is fine. It's not perfect, but it's still better, because I also, especially after what happened in the UK, can understand why such platforms being moderated is still okay, right? Because in the UK, they did the whole age checker thing on YouTube after the whatever stupid ass name that act had, where you have to like, if you're in the UK and you want to use YouTube, you have to like come up to your camera and then open your mouth or some dumbass shit like that. I don't know. It's some stupid shit, basically for age verification. And that's stupid. That's stupid as hell. So yeah, no, moderation on online platforms being self-moderated, if the platform is by and for adults, that's fine. I don't really have that much of a problem with that. Moderation, on the other hand, for platforms that are designed explicitly with kids in mind / for kids, those platforms being self-moderated is a problem. Because the biggest ding against self-moderation is that all of these companies are publicly owned. And now we're going to talk about capitalism. The problem with capitalism allowing self-moderation is that these companies are publicly owned. What that means is they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, to the people that own the company. And the problem with that is that the people that own the company don't really care about the health of the platform. They don't care about the users of the platform. What they care about is profit, right? That is the point of capitalism, to gain more capital, to gain as much capital, to have a system designed around building capital by any means necessary. On a privately owned platform, it's less of a problem, because the only people that whose needs need to be met on a privately owned platform in a privately owned company are the people who own the company. And if the people who own the company care about the company and care about the users of that company's product, then that's the directive that the company takes. That's the direction that the company takes. Twitter,
for all its faults, is currently the platform that Elon Musk wants it to be. Now, what he wants it to be is a horrible cesspool of a platform, but it is what he wants because he owns the company, he owns the platform, and it is exactly how he wants it. The problem with publicly owned companies is that the shareholders don't care. And so the people that run the company, the CEO board, the top managers, all of these people, they're not really concerned with the user base being safe. They're not really concerned about protecting children. They don't want people to be kicked off their platform, right? One of the things, let's actually go back to the video. I'll actually find it. One of the things that Schlepp brings up in the video is that Roblox the company wants to, here we go. Roblox the company added a piece to their terms of service about vigilante groups and banned Schlepp's account based on their vigilante group's portion of their TOS, where they themselves say law enforcement professionals are best positioned to investigate potential crimes. However, one of the things that they brought up in that live stream podcast thing was that these vigilante actors were not reporting it to Roblox. They were reporting it directly to law enforcement, which, for the record, is the correct thing to do in cases of criminal activity, which is what was happening on Roblox. Is happening, I should say. It's still definitely currently happening. But the thing is, like I said, Roblox Incorporated, Roblox the company, does not care about its users. It cares about its shareholders. Roblox Corporation does not care about it doesn't care about its users. It cares about its shareholders, and its shareholders don't care about the kids on Roblox. The shareholders care about maximum users, because that means maximum amount of people to sell their products to and spend money on their platform, which means maximum profits for them. And so Roblox the company, because it is beholden and it has that fiduciary duty, it has that fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders and not its users, will always prioritize the shareholder interests, which are maximizing profit, which means no kicking users off, which means maximizing users, which means allowing predators on their platform. It will always mean prioritizing having all of the people that can be on Roblox over kicking predators out. It will always mean that, because what Roblox, the company, cares about is what the shareholders care about, which is maximizing profits. And to maximize profits, you have to make sure that everybody that can be on your platform is on your platform. It doesn't matter what they do there. It doesn't matter if they're committing illegal crimes. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is profit, profit, profit. And that really sucks. It really does, particularly because Roblox as a platform is designed for kids. You are profiting off of the backs of children. Other platforms like YouTube or Facebook or whatever being self-moderated is still okay, because those are platforms, like I said, designed for adults. If they make maybe poorer self-moderation decisions, the only people that should be affected, I should say, by those platforms' self-moderation decisions are adults, because that's who those platforms are designed for. That's who is supposed to be using those platforms. And if kids are using those platforms, it is at their own risk / with their parents' consent. This is the other part of this. The other moderation tool for kids is parents. And this is why Club Penguin was the best. And I'm kind of sad that as a child, I never really played all that much Club Penguin, because the only times that I would get to play Club Penguin is when I visited friends who had Club Penguin, which weren't that many of my friends. Predominantly it was all the white friends that I had, which were only when I was a little kid, which was I was like 2. The main thing about Club Penguin, or Webkins, I didn't have Webkins either, was these were platforms that were designed with parent moderation in mind. They told parents up front, hey, parents, you're the ones making these accounts for your children. You are in charge. And I understand, obviously, that moderation of what kids do has gotten harder, especially with kids all now having phones and having their own personal screen. This is what I mean when I'm going to sound old. Back in my day, fuck me. The only screen that I had access to was the family laptop, which was in the living room, and the screen was facing towards the living room. So anybody that was sitting in the living room or in the kitchen, they would see whatever it was that was on my computer screen. And so, like, if anybody ever came down to get water, if anybody ever, if any of my parents ever came down to get water from their room, if they were working from home, or up from the basement if they were working from home. I think someone's desk was in the basement. Or when my parents came home. Well, first of all, when I was a kid, I was only at home when my parents were home. So my parents, if I were doing anything on the computer that was unsavory, they would see it. Because the only time that I got access to a screen was in a common area. I didn't have a personal screen. And I think that has been probably the biggest factor of this, is that kids have gotten their own personal screens to do whatever they want on, that parents are not moderating, and it is a lot harder to moderate those screens. Now, it's really hard to say what the fix for that is, though, because phones have become the way that everyone communicates with one another. Without a phone, you can't talk to your friends, because we've also killed third spaces for kids. We've also just killed places that kids can go that aren't home or school. So there's a lot of overlapping problems there. So I definitely think parents are should be taking a big portion of their responsibility for why kids are so screwed. Because it's bad. It's very much bad that kids are as screwed as they are. But for all of its other faults, and by the way, I'm not saying people won't slip through the cracks. I mean, they did on Club Penguin too, but for any other faults that it had, Club Penguin and Webkins made parents very aware that they were the ones in charge of moderating what their kids were doing on this platform, paying attention, and they had plenty of tools that would allow them to be in charge. And Roblox does not seem to have the same kind of tools. I mean, if we go on to let's do this actually. Let's go on to Roblox's parents' website. So if we go to roblox.com, right? If we go to roblox.com, switch over my screen here. Oh shoot! Give me 1 second. Uno momento. I forgot to separate that tab out. Here we go. If we go to roblox.com, there's a parents section down at the bottom. Yeah, okay. Here we go. So it's comprehensive parental controls, right? the comprehensive parental controls that are available for Roblox. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what the comprehensive parental controls are. So you can link your parent to okay, so to join this experience, the parent has to review it. Okay. Sure. The parent has to review what games they can play on Roblox. You can see what friends they have on Roblox. Settings you manage. Actually, hold on. Settings you manage. Content maturity, communication, spending restrictions, visibility in private servers, and trading and inventory. You can see what friends they have. I guess you can control what friends they have. You can see how much time they're playing Roblox and put limits on it. You can, I don't know. You can change the chat features. You can make sure the content maturity of whatever they're allowed to see is, whatever. And then there's a spending limit, so you can make it so that your kids can't spend more than a set amount of money. All of these are actually good parental controls. I don't have a problem with any of these features. The problem is predominantly with this one right here, with Experience Chat. You can text chat with and experience everyone, and it's either everyone or no one. Like, what do you mean? There's not friends only? And then the Experience Direct Chat with everyone is locked behind parental controls. There's not a friends only option? Because then your kid is going to be like, well, I can't talk to any of my friends when I'm playing Roblox. Just put a friends only option in both of these. That way you can't talk to everybody. You can only talk to people who are your friends on Roblox. And the only way that you can become friends with somebody on Roblox is by exchanging usernames. So it'll be people you actually know, or maybe if your kid's on Discord or something, they have specific people on Discord that they're talking to. Obviously, that's still somewhat of a risk, but you have more flexibility. What do you mean the options are everyone or no one? And then the content maturity thing. Now, from what I understand of Roblox, because I also have not played Roblox in a very, very long time, and I'm not creating a new friggin' account just to check this. From what I understand, these content maturity guidelines, one, do not have anything to do with ESRB. The ESRB is not putting any of these guidelines up. It is Roblox themselves and the creators, the individual creators of each of those games that get to set the content maturity of their game. But add-ons to the game, or if someone's remixing a game, which I understand is a feature, those don't get counted under this. There was what was it called, Meep City or something like that, which was supposed to be Roblox's version of Club Penguin. There's apparently stuff in there that's just not, it's supposed to be a mild game, but there's just stuff in there that is not mild, that is adult content. But your kid can still play it because it's considered a mild or maybe even a moderate game. Also, there's been some other crap that's come up from Roblox that is just super concerning, apparently the CEO of it wants to turn it into a dating platform, which that's crazy because even the restricted one is 17 plus, and 17 is still a minor in the United States of America. So I don't even want to get involved in that garbage, right? That's its own giant problem. I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. That's something else entirely. I'm not dealing with that. And you know what? I think that's what I'm going to call the Roblox portion of this live stream. Because the more I think about this, the worse it gets. But I do want to go back to the capitalism thing, because one of the things that was brought up in the iPhones, and we're going to go back to that page, don't you worry. One of the things that was brought up in the iPhones... Sorry, I'm just finding that page again. Did I close that? I guess I did. One of the things that was brought up in the iPhone's presentation when they made that iPhone presentation was the new iPhones, from what I understand, all use they all use a new chip for networking. So I'm also gonna Google this, because I don't know if it's going to be in every single one of the iPhone 17s or if it's only in the Air. See. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to find, because of, like, I googled N1 chip, and I'm trying to see if they have anything about the N1 chip on the phone, or on like the phone's page, which I would love to see because I want to talk about it, and I don't want to have to pull up like an Ars Technica article or something. Is this the newsroom one? Yeah. Okay, so the Air I know definitely gets this chip, so I actually don't need to see that. But let's do it with... Yeah, okay. So this is that's a Verge article, so I'm going to pull that up in just a second here. But first I also want to check... Okay. Yeah, so I'm getting conflicting articles. Some are saying one, some are saying the other. But we're gonna switch back again. Here we go. Whoop, there we go. Alright, so this is the newsroom, like the press release for the iPhone Air. And part of what made the iPhone Air possible to be this thin and still get the kind of battery life that they want is everything. First of all, as you can see in this picture, they maximized the space used by that plateau. Like, a lot of stuff is behind that plateau. So eSIM, it's eSIM only across the entire world, so you cannot, like, you literally can't buy it with a physical SIM slot. It just doesn't exist. The battery is probably the biggest chunk of the inside of the phone, because like I said, if you can't build it up, you have to build it out to get the same amount of battery. And okay, so here it talks about it. Here we go. So it gets the A19 Pro chip that the Pro models get, number one, but it has one less GPU core, as you can see on the website. But these two are the ones we really want to talk about. C1X, so we already saw the C1 on the iPhone 16e. That was the iPhone 16e's, I think, communications chip. So if we go into, where is it? Here we go. iPhone 16. No, not buy. Not buy. The wrong button. Here we go. Learn more. So in the iPhone 16e, I think it actually does show it somewhere, because the C1 chip was a pretty big deal in this one. Oh, I guess not. Camera. That's really interesting. Okay, I guess it doesn't. So the C1 chip was the 5G modem, essentially. It was the modem for mobile data connectivity. The C1 famously does not have millimeter wave 5G, which is fine because very, very few people actually get access to millimeter wave 5G in the first place. But the C1 was the networking chip for the iPhone 16e. The C1X is the new like half generation of the C1. It's not the C2. The C2, I'm assuming, will probably come in next year's phones. The N1 chip, though, is a radio chip, not a networking chip, for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and threads. And thread, like thread radio for smart home devices. And this is interesting because the N1 is actually in every single iPhone 17. The 17, the Air, and the 17 Pro and Pro Max. A19 Pro, blah, 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 who cares? So that's whatever. N1, here we go. Well, first let's talk about this one. iPhone Air also features C1X, new cellular modem. C1X is up to 2 times faster than C1, and for the same cell technologies, it's even faster than the modem in 16 Pro while using 30% less energy. So the biggest thing is energy efficiency. Like I talked about before, to make a phone this thin, the battery has to take a hit and has to be built out instead of up. And even you can only build it out so much while still maintaining the same form factor and having all the motherboard and all the other pieces that need to stay on the board, that need to stay in the phone, that aren't the battery, right? You still need to fit a speaker in there. You still need to fit a camera in there. You still need to fit the Face ID scanner in there. You still need to fit the screen in there. You still need to fit the charging port and the charging port board. You still need to fit the motherboard. So there's a bunch of stuff that you have to fit in there that isn't the battery. So you need to maximize, you need to maximize energy efficiency, because if your phone isn't energy efficient, then it doesn't matter how big your battery is, it will drain. Number 2, if you maximize energy efficiency, then you can make the same size battery last longer. This is really interesting with the C1 is less interesting than the N1, because the N1, they actually talk about it before. iPhone Air features N1, new Apple designed wireless networking chip that enables Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and Thread, and in addition to powering the latest generation of wireless technologies, also improves the overall performance and reliability of personal hotspot and AirDrop. That's pretty cool. That, having more reliable, I will tell you this right now, I love AirDrop. I love AirDrop so much. Not always the most reliable thing around. Sometimes I have to restart my phone for AirDrop to actually work how it's supposed to, or the other person has to restart their phone because they haven't restarted their phone in a long time and AirDrop doesn't work like it's supposed to. AirDrop can sometimes be a mess, particularly with more files or bigger files. It would, having better AirDrop, never going to complain about that. Having better personal hotspot. I've never personally run into an issue with my personal hotspot, but having a better one, I'm never going to complain about that. Wi-Fi 7, awesome. I think the 16 also, the 16 lineup also had Wi-Fi 7, but whatever. But I know they didn't have Bluetooth 6. Great. Thread, the 16s did have that for sure. Also cool. This is really interesting, however, because when I first saw the presentation, they only talked about N1 during the iPhone Air segment. They didn't actually talk about it at all during the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro segments of the presentation. So I thought it was only the Air that was going to get N1. It is not. It is apparently the entire lineup, according to this article and an Ars Technica article, but this article from The Verge. Inside Apple's flashy iPhone 17 lineup is the N1 chip, the wireless networking chip made in-house by Apple, allowing its devices to support the latest networking technologies. This one says Broadcom. I thought it was Qualcomm, and I think the Ars Technica article said Qualcomm, or maybe it was a different... One of the articles said Qualcomm. But this is important because it's a big question mark. Because it's new, it's a big question mark. And the reason why it's a big question mark is because the C1 is not particularly great. It doesn't support millimeter wave. Even the C1X doesn't support millimeter wave. And while that's not really a huge deal for everyone, for most people, honestly, there is no doubt that millimeter wave is currently the best mobile networking tech we have for like mobile data. And having better Wi-Fi, having better Bluetooth, that's always going to be good. What's really interesting to me is it very clearly does seem like Apple is trying to move as much as they can in-house. There are pros and cons to all of this for everyone. For Apple, it's very clear that the biggest pro of moving everything in-house will be profit margins. Because right now, what they have to do is when they make the iPhone, they have to pay Samsung or Qualcomm or Broadcom or whoever to make the individual components. So with in-house designed silicon, obviously Apple's not manufacturing it themselves. They have a contract with TSMC to do it. But when it comes to stuff like the networking card inside the iPhone, it used to be that they would buy one off of Qualcomm or Broadcom, I guess, to put in the iPhone. And there have been lawsuits that they had to fight over this. And so they want to bring it in-house because they won't have to pay the other company. Because theoretically, right, say, because Apple gets a benefit from economies of scale and buying in bulk, say Qualcomm charges $20 for every chip that they buy, right? For every chip that Apple buys from them. Just for the 16 lineup. 16 line sales. So, iPhone 16 series sales worldwide. Okay, specific worldwide sales figures for the iPhone 16 are not available. But that's the AI summary. Where are the numbers? Are there no numbers? Can I get numbers, please? Hello? No numbers? No numbers? Oh, that's crazy. No numbers. Okay, so I guess we're gonna have to go with what the AI thing says. Alright. Sales figures for the iPhone 16 are not available, but market analysts reported an estimated 37 million units in first weekend pre-orders. So, we're gonna go with just that number. We're gonna assume that there's 37 million iPhone 16 units worldwide. That is ridiculously small and definitely not the real number, but I can't find real numbers anywhere. Let's assume, for simplicity's sake, that making each iPhone costs Apple $100 to do. So, let's pop open a calculator. Actually, let's do it on this screen. Bring this over. Woo! Oh, I can't. Okay. Because of that. Alright. So, brought that over here. So, with this calculator, let's... I know, it's really small, I'm sorry. But let's assume that each iPhone costs Apple $100 to make, and they sold 37 million of them, right? 37, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 100, right? That costs them $3.7 billion, right? $3.7 billion. Now, that means that to build each one, they had to spend $3.7 billion. Let's keep that in mind. Scientific. Programmer. Oh, I see. No, scientific. All right. Let's keep that. Can I get sticky notes? Actually, let me open sticky notes. Stickies. All right. No doubt. All right. Just gonna bring the sticky note over. All right. All right. So 3.7. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. I think that's correct. Actually, I'm stupid. Couldn't I have just copy pasted? Yeah, I could have just copy pasted. All right. I'm an idiot. All right. But we want to hold on to this number, right? Let's say of that $100 that it costs them to build that iPhone, Qualcomm is charging $20 per chip. It's high, but like as a percentage, right? That would be 1/5 of the cost is just one piece, which is not the case, but for simplicity's sake, we're simplifying everything. It costs them $100 to make an iPhone. Qualcomm's charging them $20 to for their, or Qualcomm or Broadcom is charging them, whoever it is charging them $20 for their Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Thread radio chip, right? That means that for every iPhone, let's also assume for the sake of simplicity that they only made as many iPhones as they sold. So if they made 37, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 million iPhones, that means that times 20, that means they spent 740 million, right? That's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yep, 740 million. So of that 3.7 billion that they spent on making all of those iPhones, 740 million of it was spent on Qualcomm's processor. Or Broadcom or Qualcomm's networking card, right? Yeah, okay. Which means divided by 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 20%. I'm stupid. I said that before. 20% of the cost of making all of their iPhones combined, 20% of that cost is just going to paying Broadcom or Qualcomm or whoever's making that part. 20%. Now, let's assume that by making the N1, each one doesn't cost, for Qualcomm, right? Let's say Qualcomm is charging them 20 because each one costs them $10 to make plus a $10 charge for buying it from the company because obviously Qualcomm also has to make money. So let's assume that Qualcomm, with their implementation of it, has been able to bring down the cost of manufacturing on their side to $10. Apple, who is just getting into this game, right? Let's say making it themselves and not having to pay Qualcomm costs them in manufacturing of in making these chips. Let's say it costs them $17. It's only a $3 difference, right? It's only $3 per unit. But that means that 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 17. That is 629 million, right? That's 629,000,000. That means that they are saving. That means that they are saving per like generation of iPhones. They are saving. Oop, wrong button. Here we go. That means per generation they would be saving $111 million per generation, right? $111 million. That means just by saving $3 in not having to pay Qualcomm, like a net $3, by the way, just by saving net $3. Oh, whoops. Just by saving a net $3, they would be saving 3%. They'd be saving 3% of their total costs of making the thing. Now imagine that it's even more than $3. Now imagine it's $5. And then instantly that number goes up even more, right? Say instead of $3 each one, they're saving $5, right? And that is its own number, right? That means that they're saving per that means that per generation, right, they're saving $185 million, which is 5%. $5% is still huge. When you're working at that level, right, that means you're still saving, in comparison, $185 million. Obviously, these are not real numbers. Qualcomm is charging them a lot less than $20 per unit, probably. And the iPhone probably honestly costs more than $100. Or if Qualcomm is charging them $20, or Broadcom or whoever the company is charging them $20, the cost of making an iPhone is probably also higher than $100. Not to mention not just the manufacturing of it, but the packaging, the shipping, the quality control, etc. that goes into making an iPhone and selling an iPhone. And the overall margin on the iPhone is probably not, you know, what if I said this is 100, they sell it for 700. The margin on an iPhone is probably not 500%, but it's still like relatively high from what I understand. So, like, it's not insane. If you don't say delete it. It's not crazy. It's really not to assume that they would go for this, mainly because it saves them a good amount of money. Here's something cool though that Apple has done since 2020. They have convinced the market by just selling good products. They have been able to convince the market that in-house Apple silicon is good. Because of how the M1 rollout and the entire Mac lineup rollout over the past 5 years has been, they have convinced the market that in-house Apple silicon is good. Cool, right? And by the way, it is. I'm streaming this on an M1 Max MacBook. No one is really debating that part. But the thing is, Apple has been making in-house SoCs for ages. I think they started on the iPhone 4. When it comes to networking, though, Apple's entire networking manufacturing line comes from the billion-dollar acquisition of Intel's networking arm, and they also weren't as good as Qualcomm or Broadcom, and also haven't been doing it as long. So time will tell whether or not it'll work out the way that Apple wants it to. But Apple very clearly is making strides to consolidate and vertically integrate their process as much as possible. One, to maximize profit margins. Because they're already charging a lot of money, right? The iPhone Pro lineup actually got a bump in price. So the base model iPhone 17 Pro is no longer $999. It is now $1099. The base model iPhone 17 Pro Max is $1199, and the iPhone Air slotted in where the original Pro was at $999, while the base model 17 still stayed at its $799 price point, or $699 price point. I think it's $699. We just saw it. I don't care enough. But you know what? I do care enough. I'm going to go look real quick. iPhone 17 from $799. Okay. So, but it is the same price as last year. I think the iPhone 16 line also started at $799 when it first came out. But with inflation not really seeming to be over and not seeming to have slowed down really at all, and prices continuing to rise for production costs, margins then as a result dropping by not raising the prices. If you can increase margins by integrating, that means you can keep it at the same price point so your customers don't get priced out. Even though a lot of people already have gotten priced out, your customers won't get even more priced out, and you can still manage to make as much money as before. You won't make more money until inflation kind of peters off. That's not going to happen for a little while because the current administration is fucking useless. But, not to get too political or anything, but it does help you maintain prices but also maintain profit if you can vertically integrate. The other thing, the way that it could be good for consumers, is you get more products like the iPhone Air, you get more products like the new Macs. I mean, when Apple made the switch to Apple Silicon, that was huge because it led to big redesigns for the MacBook and for the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air, and they have been able to outperform their Intel brethren since the moment they came out, right? Even with the original M1 MacBook Air and MacBook Pro that used the old chassis, they were already outperforming their Intel versions, and then with the new chassis, we got even more performance, we got even better screens. With the MacBook Air, we got a fanless design, which, side note, like for college students, that's literally perfect because, I've been to so many libraries where everybody's got a MacBook Air, like an M2 and beyond MacBook Air, because it's a great screen, it's a great product, and it's because it's fanless, it's perfect for like a library environment where quietness is of great importance. So they've been able to do stuff that they couldn't before by vertically integrating the Mac with Apple Silicon. And the more they're able to vertically integrate, potentially, the even better these computers get, right? We get even more power efficiency. We already have incredible battery life. We get even better battery life. Such stuff like that. Sorry. The con is obviously Apple has not done this before. Apple had made SoCs. They have not made network cards before. The C1 is not as good as whatever Qualcomm's equivalent is. Clearly, Apple also believes that because they didn't put the C1X in the rest of the lineup. They're still buying from Qualcomm or Broadcom or whoever. They're still buying their 5G cards from somebody else. They're not making them in-house. But if the iPhone Air really does have good battery life, even good battery life, and it's fully vertically integrated, that might be something to look for. That might be something to... That might be something major on the horizon. That's what I'll say. Anyway, it is now 12:58. It's now 1 p.m. almost. I have some emails to read and respond to. I'm going to leave. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching, etc., etc. I got to rant for a few hours. I'm very happy, honestly. It's been a while since I've been able to just talk about stuff. Yeah. Bye-bye.